Greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is MiAh the King, and thank you for stopping by to view my little video. Originally, I didn't intend on putting out a video due to the fact that I'm going to be moving here soon, so it's a bit hectic. But recently, I came across a game that I've been looking at for a little while. I decided to give it a try, and today marks the reason for the video is that game. We're looking at Rebel Inc. Escalation. Did that make any sense to you? I don't even know anymore. This game is made by the same people who made Plague Inc., a beloved game about taking over the world as a sickness/disease and basically killing all humans on Earth. Now, that was a fun little game. This, however, is a little bit of a piece of garbage. But hang on, hold on now, don't get all ragey on me and quit on me now, okay? Allow me to go a bit further. At first, I wasn't even going to do a video on this game. I mean, it was released a while ago, and it is still in early access, and it just looked a little bit off on the Steam store page, but, you know, finally I decided to give it a try. Now, at first, this game was really interesting and fun. I mean, I was having a blast as I was working my way through the levels. But at the easiest difficulty, I mean, I did that because I was going to go from easiest to hardest in my conquest, one level at a time. But anyway, at the easiest difficulty, I was having a hard time progressing through the game, which caused me a lot of frustration. Some levels are harder than others, true enough, but each and every level was a significant challenge. Just at the easiest level. I dreaded going to the normal difficulty, but I pushed on, determined to play more so I could learn and get better at the game, you know. And after finishing all the levels on easy difficulty and unlocking a few things, I figured, you know, I'd start to try and win each level at the normal difficulty. Oh boy, was that a whole lot of BS. The incredible amount of change in the difficulty from going to easy to normal was absurd. By the way, I'd like to apologize if you hear any random noises in the background. That is a dog that my mom decided to bring down here when she's helping us move. Also, I don't know if my mic is going to be working. Last video I put out, it was pretty wonky. I got to get a new one. Haven't done that yet. Hopefully I'll be doing that soon, so I do apologize if the mic does anything terrible in this recording. I checked it a couple times already and it was fine, so I'm just hoping it stays fine. Now then, let me tell you a bit about the game before we go further. You are in charge of a country who just finished a war, basically. You are to reform and rebuild the country as its new leader. You get to choose a different leader type with each level and whatnot, kind of like how you chose a different germ from Plague Inc. Each leader has bonuses and negatives, yada yada yada, but the main problem here is replacing the WHO, the World Health Organization. It's insurgencies. Insurgencies? Rebels. These rebels, who are for some reason rebelling against this new leader and stopping them from reforming the country. Much like the WHO, they pop up and cause lots of problems and try to stop you from accomplishing your goal. Once you bring the whole country under your stable reign, you win the level. So your health, your limit, your whatever you want to call it, it's overall stability of the nation, which is the little bar on the right side of the screen that you should be seeing right about now. This lowers depending on what happens around you. Mostly lowers. Very rarely rises. And if it hits 0, then you lose. The insurgents, the rebels, are determined to get this to 0, as is the game with its crappy roll of the dice chance mechanics. But before we go any deeper, let's do this like we do all of these. First the pros and cons, then my final overall opinion, alright? So first up is the cons, because I'm super irritated at the game right now and need to get these things off my chest first. Afterwards, hopefully, I'll have more of a clear mind for the pros. So first up on the negatives is, number one, the game's difficulty is ridiculous. This must have been a bit obvious from my earlier words and my frustrated tone, but it still needs to be said. The game's ramp up in difficulty is absolutely ridiculous. It is pretty much impossible to win without a strategic, well-written guide on just normal difficulty. After playing and beating the game on easy, I kind of know how to play the game. Yet none of the strategies or leaders or buffs are working in helping me beat anything on normal. I was able to beat one level on normal, and all the others were just impossible. Number 2, the game has an insurgency system, as I mentioned earlier. You know, the rebels. They like to pop up left and right, ignore physics, and pretty much just wreck your day. At first I was like, okay, not bad, I can understand this, but you know, with proper military stuff, I should be able to beat them. The problem is that the game doesn't revolve around real physics or logic. Therefore, these rebels easily sneak past your troops, destroy a city in a matter of minutes, even if you have troops stationed there, and even when you have airstrikes, drones, and you've got them outnumbered 3 to 1, they'll still find a way to get away from you and spread like rabbits. These rebels need to be toned down a bit. Just a bit. They are far more powerful than your reforming society, and it's completely unfair how quickly they can spread, multiply, and destabilize your country. They move way too fast, and they are way too effective for a bunch of ragtag rebels who just randomly pop up with no freaking goal or leader or anything. Number 3. The game doesn't explain a lot of its stuff. It doesn't explain to you why you lost, or what you did wrong, and all you can do really is guess to try to figure it out. It doesn't really explain why certain things happen, or how to stop certain things from happening, or what to do when this happens, or what to do when that happens. It kind of just, throws you into the deep end. And 9 times out of 10, when you try to compensate for what you did wrong, the computer changed it up, and now you'll end up losing again, meaning that the strategy is pointless. I mean, strategy is pretty much pointless in this game. Even when I was following a guide on one of the harder levels and doing what 3 separate guides told me to do, I still couldn't beat that level. This is because no strategy works, because it's all random BS for a game like this. If it was, freaking Plague Inc., it's a little bit more understandable. Humans are unpredictable, germs are unpredictable, what are you going to do? But in a game like this that involves around strategy and stuff, and, common sense and basic knowledge, the random BS shouldn't even be much of a factor here. Number 4, the chance mechanics in this game are inaccurate. The game says that if you spend $3 here, then you'll have a 30% chance of failure. But then you fail 60% of the time. That don't add up at all. Or it'll say you have a 13% chance that the enemy will refuse to talk to you. That means you have an 87% chance that they will talk to you. For peace talks. I had these odds twice in a row, and failed twice in a row. So that's utter BS. And this is rampant throughout the game. There are so many times where the numbers are just skewed, and they make you think that you've got a chance only to lie and rip it away from you in the most horrible way possible. So, the fact that these chance mechanics are so badly programmed, it causes you way more problems than if it were more accurate. I mean, at least then if it was more accurate, you could make better decisions and take better risks, and at least then, when something, messes up, you can be like, okay, I did that, I messed that up, that was my bad, I shouldn't have taken the risk. But no! In this game, it's like, I don't know, I got a 90% chance of victory. That seems like a bet worth taking, only to lose. Number 5. Things just don't work. They don't make sense. I mean, in Plague Inc., if you were in a cold, damp area filled with lots of people, like a rich area, right? A rich, urban, damp, cold place in Plague Inc., right? If you've played that, you know what I mean? So anyway, you know what you need to do, what you need to research to really spread your disease. You need resistance to cold, you need the ability to grow in damp areas, you need the resistant to, high quality drugs that those rich cities have, and those other upgrades that help spread among the people, like handshaking and coughing and whatnot, right? Then after you researched all that, you'd watch as your disease would just boom, like a bomb, spread and infect everybody. But in this game, if you are in an urban area who uses highways, and they need electricities, and then you build highways, electricity things, and job centers which help urban areas, it takes hours or months of in-game time for that city to become stable. I can understand it wants to be a bit slower because each level is a lot faster than Plague Inc. did it, but still, it's way too freaking slow. I mean, if I give the city literally everything it wants and needs and could ever ask for, those people should be jumping up and down for joy that I'm giving them water, power, and all this other fun stuff. I mean, wow. And just because you can make one area stable doesn't mean all the others will. So half the time it's practically impossible to stabilize your starting freaking area before the damn rebels pop up and wreck your day. And I mean, that's about all the negatives I got. I mean, it may not seem like a lot, but those are some pretty big issues considering this is a small, cheap little game in early access that's been out for a while. But now we're going to go into the pros because I am feeling a little bit better. Also, sorry if this footage you're watching of gameplay is repeating, but I just didn't want to touch this game anymore after those last 2 losses. I was just done, so sorry for that. But anyway, on to the pros. Number 1, the game is stable. It didn't crash, glitch, freeze, or anything else. I mean, it runs pretty damn smoothly, which was very nice. Number 2, the sound effects and the art style are pleasant, nice to observe, and they fit the theme perfectly. Number 3, the idea. The idea of this game is unique, original, and creative. It's very fun, it's very interesting, and I would love to see more games done like this. And number 4, the game is fairly simple in terms of like mechanics, like what to click, what to see, what to read, how to analyze the game basically. But it's just in terms of strategies and its processes in-game that are ridiculous. So that's all I got for the pros. So, on to my final thoughts now. My final thoughts are this. The game is terrible right now. I mean, it has an amazing idea, fun concept, and possibly a great future. But right now, the game needs a lot of work. It might not seem like it needs a lot of work, but it does. And it's just more with the inner workings of the game than anything else. It's just too damn hard. I mean, normally I don't complain about games like this that are being too hard because, you know, they're designed to be that way, but this was something else completely. I mean, even on its easiest difficulty, I was struggling to find victory on each of its levels. And that's all because of two main reasons. The chance mechanics are broken as hell and incredibly inaccurate, and the insurgents rebels are way too overpowered for a bunch of ragtag rebels. They spawn too fast, and they dodge your attacks too fast. You can't move as fast as they can. You can't fight as well as they can. You can't spread as fast as they can. You can't stabilize as fast as they can destabilize. You don't have enough money to deal with them. You don't have enough time to deal with them because for some reason each of my leaders starts off with a negative in stability. Never starting with 100%, always starting with 80% or lower, which is garbage. And all those put together puts you in an extreme disadvantage. And I can understand the kind of mindset here. It's like, I mean, okay, you're taking over a country and you have to build a broken country up from the ground up. And obviously there's going to be dissenters who want to fight you and whatnot. I get all that, okay? But in a game like this, it shouldn't all be left to chance. There should be some strategy involved, some tactics involved, some diplomacy involved. But there's not. The only way you can convince these... I want to curse, but I'm trying not to. These bad people is if you beat the crap out of them for a while first. And then you basically grind them into submission. That's not a diplomatic option. How does that work at all? So there's no diplomacy there. The only other diplomacy you get is when you're going to the backers. Some rival country against yours is backing those guys, and you can call them out on their BS. Only problem is, that doesn't do anything. It says that it's hurting the insurgents in your territory, but it isn't. It isn't doing jack. So it's pointless. There's no, you know, asking for help from outside. I mean, there is. There's a button that says, oh, if you research this, you'll get more help from outside. But I don't see any physical changes. I don't see any changes. And there's like 4 buttons you can push where it's just like, you're getting help from the outside. And it's like, other than them sending me troops, I don't see any of the benefit of any of those other research options. But I keep plugging away at them. Keep researching them because I'm hoping that maybe they're doing something and I'm just not seeing it. And it's not so much strategy because it doesn't matter what you do with your troops. I had my troops, let's see, I had drones, I had airstrikes. And I'm not talking about the matches you're looking at right now. I'm recalling one of my previous matches when I was playing on the easiest difficulty, by the way, at one of the later maps with one of the later generals. Anyway, I had drones and I had airstrikes. I had the jeeps so my troops could move faster. They also had 2 upgrades to their weapons, so they're more effective. I had all my troops summoned, and then I had 2 troops from international troops, which I guess are like the UN troops. So I had 6 things of troops, fully upgraded badasses, with a few forts stationed around. I had a good chunk of the nation stabilized, and for some reason, somehow, the rebels just exploded and became so powerful and destroyed everything. I mean, that brings me to another point. There's a particular general that you get where he's a warlord, and he works like a warlord, which is fine, I get it. But there's a very much of a horrible thing to using him, which is if you have troops with him, you build troops with him like you can with any other general, his troops are, you know, they're cheaper and they spawn faster, great. But the problem is they demand money over and over again, and it only gets more and more expensive to hold on to them. So basically, you're not even fighting with the stability bar in that match whenever you're using the warlord. You're fighting against your greedy soldiers who you can't change. And here's another thing. You can either let them become, you know, bad guys, trying not to curse. You can let them become bad guys, you know, turn a blind eye and let them loot and pillage your people, which is going to hurt you in the long term. You can pay them their extortion rate money, or you can disband them. And after you disband them, they are gone permanently. So if you were to disband all 4, you're out of all your troops. Period. Game over. End of story. What is the point? What kind of warlord rules like that instead of rules through intimidation? It's BS. It's stupid. It doesn't make any freaking sense. The whole point is even when I was mostly fully upgraded with my military, these rebels still kicked my ass. That shouldn't be possible. That just should not be possible. I know that it's supposed to be a struggle, you know, I get that, but each problem needs a solution. Otherwise it's not a problem, it's a crisis. In this game, it tells you how to solve each problem, but the issue here isn't that even when you do what you're supposed to do to solve the problem, it doesn't get solved. I mean, it's like playing a strategy medieval game where your enemy is using horses, right? And the game has told you that the best way to counter horses is with pikes. So you build pikemen. Only when the horses engage your pikemen, they destroy them. Even though the game told you that their horses would be weak to your pikes, yours are getting slaughtered. I'm talking even ground, even numbers. That's just the game straight up lying to you. You see what I'm saying? That's the equivalent of what's happening in this game. This is what you need to do when this situation rises. You do what the game told you to do in that situation, and then it gets worse. And then, with all that, the chance mechanics are absolute garbage, and they need to be reworked. Never in my life have I ever had a 90% chance of victory stolen from me twice in a row in a game. Because that's not how percentages work. I know this all might seem a bit irrelevant at this time of the game's life, but basically, if you're still wondering if this game is worth its asking price and if you should support this game in its early access, I would say yes. I know, surprised, right? The thing is, as much as this game frustrates me and angers me, it has a whole lot of potential. It can end up being a great little game just like Plague Inc. was, or still is even. The problem is, it's in early access and it still needs a lot of work. I was hoping that it'd be a bit more ironed out by now, but it's not. I mean, it still has its issues, obviously. I mean, I've looked up guides online, tried them all, and still failed. I've tried combining strategies from these guides, and failed. I've tried my own unique strategies with a hint and, little tidbits from those strategies, from those guides and whatnot, and I still failed. I mean, the game is rigged. As it is currently, it is rigged against you. I feel like all my previous victories were simply by chance, and not at all by skill, and then I just got lucky on the easiest difficulty. I mean, it could be that I absolutely suck, but I have been able to beat almost all of Plague Inc., which is very similar to this game. I mean, I don't know. I could suck at this game. Maybe I'm not getting it. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe you know something that I don't. But honestly, the game, overall, the game isn't asking for much money considering what it is. But if you buy it now, make sure you're prepared for frustration and anger, do a lot of research, do a lot of studying, pay attention to a lot of guides, really pay attention to the game, and really put 100% into this game. If you're not willing to do that, then don't bother, because you won't win, you'll just get angry. This game is really going to tick you off. So, just keep that in mind if you do decide to support the game and play it. I played the game for about 7 hours now, and honestly, I'm just done with it. I mean, I probably won't touch it again until I see an update where they fix those rigged chance mechanics and tone down the Insurgents rebels a little bit. I'm just done playing it. Plague Inc. was never this hard on its easiest and normal difficulties, and that game was flippin' hard. But the fact is, this game came out almost a year ago on early access. Some of these kinds of things should be done already. The game devs need to focus on finishing the game and ironing out the details before they choose to add more content to it. I mean, at least then they'd get more patrons and more fans. Honestly, I hope it does get better, and I hope it does get more content, and that one day I can come back and really enjoy it. But as of right now, I'm just done. Why did I do this video, you ask? Because I both support this game and I want it to get better. And I, want to help people figure out what it's about and get a good look at it. And if you don't know anything about it, here's your chance. And also, if you were thinking about it, but you don't have the money to spend and you're not looking for a frustrating, angry game, you don't want to buy it either. Also, since it's early access, people might still be looking at it and going, is it worth it, since early access games have such a bad reputation on Steam? But either way, I just had to get all of this off my chest. I was super frustrated by this game and I had to say something. I had to do something about it. For those of you who are stuck around and listen, thank you a bunch for doing that. I really appreciate it. Thank you all so much for stopping and watching my video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe. I mean, I don't know what else I can say. This video is way longer than I intended it to be. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts, please let me know in the comments below and I will answer them as best I can. If you have any tips for me, I'd like to hear them, or, just whatever. But yeah, just say bump. Bump will make me happy in the comments too. I really don't care at this point. Anyway, thank you guys again so much for watching. I hope to see you all again on my next adventure, and until then, I bid you farewell.